In a world where modern society has turned their back on men, and men are beginning to turn their backs on the society and the women at large, I think it's understandable why these things are happening. But what's not really understandable for a lot of people is what exactly does it mean to be an alpha male, and especially in today's society. You don't need any kind of class or anything on how to be an alpha male, and you don't need any kind of dating guru to tell you how to get game to be an alpha male. What being an alpha male comes down to is respect. And if people around you respect you, or people that you're involved with respect you, or they don't. And the most important aspect of being an alpha male is competency, confidence, and having the ability to actually follow through on the things that you say you're going to do. You do something, and you say that you're going to do something, and you do it, right? But it seems like in a society now that we live in, where there's not a lot of reason to be respected, I think that there's a few things that you can do to ensure that you live a lasting life that is filled with laughter, that is filled with the pain, that the everything that you need, all of the emotions in between, and live a fulfilled life that empowers you to be the best version of yourself. And one of those things that I think that you can do is to keep yourself as your mental focal point of origin. If you don't do that, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually go beyond and live a life that is meaningful and with purpose. Because if you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to be able to take care of other people, right? And this means making rational, reasonable decisions. You got to make decisions that are not going to cost you too much. You have to make decisions that are okay to be risk, high risk, high reward, but you want to make sure that you don't just waste your time, and you're not trying to fill any void or anything like that to try to make the vacuum in your soul be filled, because that's going to be a vacuum. And the only way that you can fill that is by removing the vacuum entirely. And the way that you do that is by respecting yourself. And this is one of the reasons why we don't have a lot of men's groups nowadays, and a lot of brotherhood, I suppose you could say. The lack of brotherhood is a reflection of the health in our males as a society. And there's not a lot of reason to be healthy as a male. You don't really get a lot of recognition for it. It's just expected of you. And even if you are that guy, that's what's crazy is some of the women that I've talked to, you could be the best thing on earth. You could be anything and everything that you could possibly be as a man. Like, all you need to do is be everything nowadays, right? All you need to do is you have to have the money. You've got to have the status. You've got to have the network. You've got to have the ability to attract and keep women. You've got to have all these different things. And you've got to have power. You've got to have influence. You've got to have a big social media following. You've got to have all these different boxes checked just to get in the door nowadays, because it seems like women think that there's not a lot they need to do. And this is what happens when we live in a society that has marketed feminism so much to the point to where women believe that just existing, a lot of them, is enough to keep a relationship going, and is enough to be something in your life. And it truly is astounding how many women take their own relationships that they're already in for granted. I see it every day. And a lot of the men are just fed up. They're not being treated the way that they want to, so why should they even try in their relationships? And the ones that do try in their relationships, and the one that do put in effort, which is a lot, don't get me wrong, I think it's actually more than It's more of a majority than it isn't. But even them, they're trying, and it's like there's nothing for them on the other side. So being an alpha male is really nothing. It doesn't seem like anything spectacular nowadays, but the truth is that anybody can be an alpha male. And I don't even really like using that term, to be honest, but it is the most practical term that we can use to describe such a man nowadays, and really ever, right? This is how men operate. But we categorize as males and females, and we do that, and that's okay, but we don't necessarily need to see people as what they aren't, right? We see people for who they are, and that's going to be enough. And sometimes we see people for what they are rather than who they are, and I don't think that's necessarily right. But in all my videos, I ensure and do my best to ensure, that is, that I'm talking to who you are, not what you are. So there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings on what an alpha male is, and I think ultimately it just comes down to being somebody that can contribute to society in a healthy manner, and that doesn't take more than he gives. Because if a king can't give, right? Because as a man, your worth does not come from how many women you can get with, or how much money you have, or anything like that. What your purpose really comes from is building who you are, understanding who you are, and giving value back to the world, and building your legacy, building your family legacy. If you cannot do that, then it's going to be something that you are going to be insufficient at for the rest of your life in all of your relationships. If you cannot have a proper relationship and a healthy relationship with yourself, there is no way that you're going to have a healthy relationship with somebody else. And you're never going to be able to take ownership of situations, or being able to take control of situations. How would you be able to? How would you be able to? And so, but there's little incentive to do that nowadays for men, and I think that's where a lot of the men are having the most struggle and the most lack of consistency, is because there's not a lot of incentive to be somebody nowadays. And even if you are somebody, women treat you like you're nothing. I literally had a woman the other day that I was talking to, and I could tell right off the rip, she thought that she was just the most perfect thing that could ever walk. She was very full of herself, very full of herself. She didn't come across that way within the first 10 seconds of interacting, but after that 10 seconds, it was like, well, bam. It's like I asked a certain question, and right off the rip, I was like, okay, that's how she's gonna be, then I'm just gonna say peace out. And I've seen her a few times since then, just walking out and about, out and around at the gym, but I haven't made eye contact, I haven't done anything, and I could tell that she's not happy. she was giving me the side glare, like, why isn't he talking to me? He must be talking to me. I am the person he needs to talk to. That kind of energy it was. And I can't help but just laugh, because I think to myself, look at you. look at you. And now she's playing the sad game. Like 2 days after that, she's playing the sad game, like, please talk to me. She probably doesn't even know what she did. It doesn't seem like it. And those kinds of women I just stay away from, because even if she meets my standard as far as what I'm looking for attraction, that kind of woman is not going to be the mother of my children. And I think that's another thing that alpha males really focus on in the long run. at least alpha males that are godly, because I do think that there's a distinction between alpha males that are godly and alpha males that are not godly. I think you can still be respected if you're not godly, but only to the eyes of the world. Okay? Well, what do I mean by that? Well, so being an alpha male means that you can be competent, you can be confident. Think about James Bond, right? This is a perfect, like, fantasy example. James Bond is a man that sleeps with a lot of women, has a lot of cool cars, knows how to shoot a gun, knows how to kill people, knows how to defend himself, knows how to defend others, knows how to protect and provide by any means necessary. He knows a lot of different kinds of cool gadgets. He knows how to fly planes. He knows how to fly helicopters. He knows how to swim. He knows how to play poker. He knows all these different things, right? But what does he not have? He doesn't have God in a lot of those situations. So as great as he is and as alpha as he is, he's not a godly man. And so I do think that there's a distinction to be made between being a godly man that is an alpha male and just alpha males. And it's not to say that they're just alpha males. It's more about alpha males that are godly have a certain trait about them that is different. You can almost tell, like, the more I grow closer to God every day, the more I can tell when I look into a man's eyes whether or not he has God in his life or not. And this is the same for women as well, right? You can see if there's life and light in their eyes. But what's more is that as a man, there's almost a certain edge, and it's a line drawn between sadness and joy. When you look into their eyes, you can see this line between sadness and joy, because you can tell that a man that is like that has truly built himself and has truly been through the fire. He's truly been through all those terrible things, and he's come out a better man for it. He's seen danger. He's seen the crazy things, and he's come out a better person. But, and that's had a lot of sorrows, but it's also had a lot of joy. And so in his eyes, there's a sadness and joy, but usually it's a very stoic kind of man. And that's the sense that I get for a lot of these men out here. And a lot of men are just tired, generally. This doesn't really have anything to do with alpha males, but I just thought about this. Men are just tired of dealing with the exhaustion of grief and the exhaustion of disappointment. There's just a lot of letdowns in our society. Just like this woman the other day. I mean, she was attractive and she was giving me a lot of good choosing signals and all that, and I don't usually base my attraction off of if she's choosing me or not, signal wise, but I just have a feeling about it usually. And there was a feeling, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to explore this feeling. And it was great up until those first 10 seconds were over. because I know what questions to ask to get at a person's soul and to see the state of their soul. And if the person's soulful state is not good, then we can see whether or not we're going to work with it. But a lot of men don't even consider the stability of their soul. They don't consider the health of their spirit. And I think that's another thing that what comes down to the difference between a godly man that is an alpha and an alpha male. An alpha male that is godly knows the stability of his spirit and the nourishment and the health of his spirit and soul as well. But anyways, guys, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.